Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Guess what we are talking about? We're talking about one of the best midfielders, one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. And guess who this is? And his move to the club Chelsea. We are definitely not talking about Manuel Ugarte, whom we talked about some time ago. Manuel Ugarte, who is also a defensive midfielder, and Chelsea came out and said, despite the fact that they are trying to get Manuel Ugarte, also that does not hinder them from going for Moises Caicedo because he's top class football player. And we can understand why Chelsea are trying to get this lad, Moises Caicedo. It's a very good football player. We remember that Moises Caicedo is an Ecuadorian professional football player who plays as a defensive midfielder for Premier League club Brighton and Hove and also the Ecuadorian national team. Hello everyone, and thank you for being part of the Chelsea chapter, and make it a point to subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you do not miss out on whatever we've definitely got to bring, as long as it is sports and as long as it is Chelsea related. Right about here at the Chelsea chapter with me, your host Abu KALS, as we definitely talk sports. You definitely know that things are going on quite well for the club Chelsea, and Chelsea's looking at different options in which they can make sure they land themselves the best defensive midfielder, one of the best, I can't say, defensive midfielders in the Premier League, and that is Moises Caicedo. Brighton and Hove is a wonderful football player, but they are not about winning. With them, they don't mind about winning the Premier League. No. As long as they finish mid-table, that's definitely okay for them. They're definitely very fine with that. And they keep on selling their football players. They've got class football players. I mean, look at Marc Cucurella. Marc Cucurella came in from Brighton, went to Chelsea from Brighton and Hove, and he's performed brilliantly right there. He's had an exceptional, despite the fact that Chelsea hasn't managed to play quite well in the last season, Moises Caicedo stood out as a very good defender, a very good football player. And here's one that was got from Brighton and Hove, and right about now Chelsea is seeing getting another football player from Brighton and Hove is gonna do the magic. And Mauricio Pochettino is a long-term fan, very big fan of Moises Isaac Caicedo Crozo, who is a very brilliant football player, very masculine, and a very good, has his paces all right, dribbling skills are perfect, defensive tactics on point, his passing is accurate, definitely. Quite a lot I could talk about this gentleman. I could talk about him all day, but definitely we have to say things are not going on quite well for the club Chelsea. But we think since Mauricio Pochettino is now the current manager of Chelsea, is going to change a few things. And I will remember that Chelsea, Mauricio Pochettino's aim is getting a goalkeeper, a defensive midfielder, and a top striker who is a center forward. And that's where the goalkeeper, as I told you before, goalkeeper could be Onana is being listed by Chelsea, and a defensive midfielder. We have now two football players in there, but Chelsea comes out and says, despite that there are two, we can manage to have both of them. There is Manuel Ugarte, and then there is Moises Caicedo. But between the two football players, whom would you take? Between Manuel Ugarte and Moises Caicedo, personally, I must say, and I must agree to the fact that I would comfortably take Moises Caicedo. Within a shadow of a doubt, I would take Moises Caicedo. I would not even think about Ugarte, Manuel Ugarte. Moises Caicedo is world class. He's a very good football player. I mean, he was looking at, for some time, he's been looking for a big move to a bigger club than Brighton and Hove. But looking at, as we speak right about now, looking at the Premier League table, seeing where Brighton and Hove finished and where Chelsea finished, there's a big difference. I mean, Brighton and Hove finished in the 6th position with 62 points, and Chelsea finished in the 12th position with 44 points. And you can see how Brighton and Hove did was definitely perfect, was quite good. But that does not mean that Chelsea is a weaker team. Brighton and Hove have just had a very wonderful season, but Chelsea is a very good team if he gets good management, which we think that he has got. Mauricio Pochettino could be doing a great job at the club. He's got quite a lot to do. He's got a big workload to do and also negotiations to do because he doesn't want some of the football players there, and I can sort of understand why. And I think anybody should really understand why he doesn't want football players, very many football players. He wants just a small squad. He just needs a small squad. I mean, why would you have Joao Felix, Mason Mount, Mika Modric, Enzo, N'Golo Kante, Christian Pulisic, you have Havertz, you've got Ziyech, Hakim, you've got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Silva, Noni Madueke, Raheem Sterling, Wesley Fofana, Reece James, Kepa Azpilicueta, as Arrizabalaga, that's his name. Then you've got Edward Mendes, Cesar Azpilicueta, Mateo Kovacic, you've got Ben Chilwell, you've got Conor Gallagher, you've got David Detro Fofana, you've got Mark Cucurella, you've got Bernard Podiashil, you've got Kalidou Koulibaly, you've got Kane Chukwumeka, you've got Dennis Zakaria, you've got Amanda Broja, you've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek, you've got Trevor Chaloba, you've got Gabriel Slonina, you've got Lucas Bagastorm, you've got Omari Hutchinson, you've got Harveyville, you've got Marcus Bettinelli, you've got Lewis Hall, you've got Baba Rahman, you've got Eddie Bench, you've got Alfie Glitch, is he called Glitchet? Alfie Gilchrist, you've got Ethan Wadi, all these football players, all of them. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 7, that is 35. 36, 37, 38, 39. We've got 39 football players. And out of those 39, the amount of money that is there is quite a lot. Very young squad. Why would you have all this big squad and yet having a smaller effective squad is an option? You're saving money and you're saving also work done on all these football players, definitely quite mad. So it's definitely going to be a bit tricky, but reality is Chelsea need quite a lot that is going to be done. Mauricio Pochettino has a big job. Mauricio Pochettino has a massive job. I don't know whether you know what I mean, but he's got a big job ahead of him. You need effective football players, You need Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo is definitely a very good one. He's a perfect defensive midfielder. And if you have him, definitely there is no need of having 10 defensive midfielders. He's enough. Just get one more. Just have one good defensive midfielder and have him. Maximum 3. Maximum 3. But in his position. But he's not injury prone. He can play as many games as he can. And definitely, he's a very wonderful one, and he's been trying to make sure that he can up his game. He's played quite well for some time. And that's why Chelsea's not gonna have an easy run for Moises Caicedo, because Manchester United want Moises Caicedo. Chelsea is heavily linked to Moises Caicedo, and then Arsenal being also big ones that want him, and Liverpool also. So I think it's going to be a bit competitive. Looking at the clubs he's played for Independent, De Valve, Under 20. He's played for Beerschot. He's played for Brighton, and I mean the clubs he's played for before joining Brighton and Hove haven't been the best of clubs, and I think that's why we have to give Brighton and Hove quite big. We've got to give them big respect because they're good at sporting young football players. He's 21 and he's running the midfield in the Premier League. Premier League midfield is definitely run by him. He's a very good one, and every football club is eyeing him, saying they definitely need him. So Moises Caicedo being a perfect midfielder and him working alongside Mauricio Pochettino could be one of the things that is going to be a brilliant start for him, because you will remember that in the general transfer window he was looking at leaving the club, but Brighton and Hove sat down and were like, oh, Moises Caicedo is leaving the club. Well, he's leaving the club, but what are we gonna do? We're not selling him, because we've sold Marco Correa, we've sold Leandro Trossard, we've sold almost all good football players. So right about now there are a few football players at Brighton who are very good football players. I mean, players like McAllister, whom we're not sure about where he's going, and he said that Chelsea could also have a run on McAllister. So I think could be a brilliant move for the club Chelsea if they definitely get Moises Caicedo. But they're trying. Chelsea are trying to make sure they can get him, but resizing the squad is something that is definitely needed. I mean, how on earth do you get all these football players, you know? And according to Fabrizio Romano, who is a big sports journalist and also transfer specialist, he's come out and said he's on the London, the Moises Caicedo is on the London club's list, which is Chelsea, of targets, and will likely be approached no matter what happens with negotiations with Sporting Lisbon's Manuel Ugarte. Oh, I'd already said that. So talks to sign Ugarte are ongoing, and even if the deal does go through, Moises Caicedo is reported to be a big part of Chelsea and is wanted by Chelsea. But I think Chelsea, why do you, I don't know. So why would you buy Ugarte and then also add Moises Caicedo? It doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, none of them are good football players, but it doesn't make sense. I don't think Mauricio Pochettino would allow that, but it is what it is. Moises Caicedo being one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League is not. You're not going to have an easy run. You're going to cash in, and you're going to have a bidding war. It's going to be a bidding war for the player, because he's still young, 21 years of age, and not very many defensive. By the way, in the Premier League, we don't have quite. We've not got quite young defensive midfielders. Almost all of them are aging. So Moises Caicedo is definitely a very good one, you know, one for the future. One that will definitely run the club for a number of years. And don't be astonished if Todd Bowley says he's going to sign an 8-year contract. But I think he's learned, and that's why there's been limitations for Thomas Tuchel. He can't sign a big contract. We're not very sure about what went on with different sides. One of the sides saying Mauricio Pochettino did not want to sign a long contract. He wants to first see what's going on, how things are going on in the club, then he can maybe extend his contract. But also, it will be remembered that Chelsea. Sorry. So we'll remember that Chelsea, the fact that they are trying to get Moises Caicedo at all costs, is going to be a good one, a good season for them. It's going to be a good season for them. There's going to be a bit of improvement, you know. It's not going to be a very bad season just like the last season was. Mauricio Pochettino, I don't think he can settle for a goal being the 12th, and ooh, to some extent, I think Frank Lampard shouldn't have even accepted the offer. For some reason, that's what I think, because he's stained his job profile, because Chelsea was in a mess when he got here, and right about now as we speak he's still in a mess, and Mauricio Pochettino has to do quite a lot, big job. So anyway, thank you for being part of the Chelsea chapter, and make your point, subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you do not miss out on whatever we've definitely go to bring you, as long as this sports and as long as this Chelsea related, right about here, the Chelsea chapter with me, your host Abu KALS-The. Thank you and goodbye for now.